committed, and we are committed.
And we are on the air right now.
Live from Dead Robot Studio, coming to you from Houston, Texas, the Dead Robot Society live podcast. Hello, everybody.
I don't think anybody's here yet. I think I had to change the freaking link.
Damn it.
Yeah, pretty much.
A great intro ruined by circumstance.
Yeah, pretty much what's going on. Let's see. Yeah. Stop that bullshit. Go back to events. Where's the live stream? Basic info. We will eventually get this right. I swear.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. We're going to just continue screwing it up month after month because we will never remember what we did last month.
Let's see. Live control room. Hello. Hello. Let's see. View on watch page. That's what I'm looking for. View on watch page. Okay. Here we go. Wow, that lag is something else.
Which lag?
I'm looking at the live control room, and there's a lot of lag. Let me see here.
Whenever you figure out what the link is to where people will eventually join to make commentary, let me know so I can open a separate window to monitor what's going on there too.
Okay, I changed the link. Hang on, Dan. I'll get to you eventually.
He's like 25 minutes early. We weren't actually supposed to start until 3:30 our time.
Yeah, for some reason he thought it was 3, but I know I didn't tell him that.
You actually posted that in the Dead Robot Society that we were starting at 3. I figured that was just going to be us chatter.
Yep.
But the sorry little bugger, he's reading our secret
public
posts and knows exactly what we're doing.
All right, so I've got a live chat here. Are you able to see the live chat?
No, where did you post it?
I haven't posted it anywhere.
Because until I know what the link is, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I can see the live chat, but you can't. Shit.
I remember last time you had to just post a link to it, just like all the other.
You were able to get into the. You were able to get into the YouTube Control Center, right?
I don't know what I'm looking at the YouTube, my YouTube with homes and channels and stuff. I seem to remember last time what you did is the same link that you posted to the regular listeners so that they could comment.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I had to have the same thing in order to figure out what it was.
Right. Here, try that.
Where did that appear? Facebook?
No.
Because it didn't appear in the group chat in this window.
Oh, shit. God damn it. There, try that. You guys hear us? Come on, chat to us, you bozos.
Ah, there we go. Now we've got the delay because I've got the window on this one too.
Yeah. So mute that. That's what I do, is just mute that sucker.
It is now muted.
Muted. All right, guys. One of these days we're gonna get this right.
Do not believe it. Do not believe that bullshit.
Shut up. See, we used to do this thing where I would use an encoder, and then YouTube started this hangout on the air crap. So, yeah, I'm going to call you names. What do you want from me? JR is just, boy, he's such a prima donna. I don't know what to do with him.
You do with him what you do with every other prima donna. Ignore him. He'll
Ignore him?
stumble off on his high heels.
Ignore on his high heels.
Isn't that what prima donnas wear? High heels?
I don't know. Why are you asking me these questions?
I didn't bring prima donnas into this conversation.
No, I didn't either.
You did. So
no, I did not call him a prima donna. You called him a prima donna.
I seem to remember this completely differently.
Yeah, I'll bet you do. The heels are part of the housewife uniform. Nice. Very nice. So we started early so that we could get like a chance to get our crap together before Dan comes on and everything else, so we could, get our crap together and get all the technical issues out of the way. It's basically what it comes down to. So what do you people know anyway? And by the way, this is a special episode of DRS for you patrons, you Patreon patrons, who we can't thank enough for, giving us donations, monthly donations to help keep the show on the air and pay for hosting costs and everything else. We really appreciate it.
We do. Even though, unfortunately for us, it's more like a short bus special.
A short bus special.
Yes.
So Terry, guess what I was doing before we started this?
Keep it rated R or better.
I uploaded 49 files to Audible.
Hopefully it wasn't, just random sounds that you collected from nature.
No, I finished recording the Derelict audiobook today. I have 4 more files to master for Audible, and then the intro, outro, and then the retail crap, and then finito.
Woo!
Audible has not sponsored us yet because
we suck.
No, in order to get Dick, in order to get Audible sponsored, you have to basically put their a spam commercial in your podcast. And I have not been willing to do that. Terry and I have not discussed it, but it's something to keep in mind. But me personally, I don't like the idea of it, because then we're biting the hand that feeds us when we bitch. And I don't want to feel like we can't complain about Amazon or Audible or whomever because they're giving us money, is basically what it comes down to it. And like I said, Terry and I have not discussed that particular situation, but it is one of the possible problems I see with that. I don't know.
It's what are the benefits of Audible sponsorship?
Well, basically what it comes down to is anytime somebody joins up with Audible using an Audible code that is ours, we basically get a bounty off of it if they join up for free. It's basically how that works. I don't know if there's any advertising revenue that they would give us. I don't know if there's anything else. We really have to check into it. And like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, so I'm not really sure yet what all would be involved. So all right. I don't know. It's something we'll have to look into, JR. But I mean, it's definitely something that we need to think about. Could be a good deal, but I just don't know. We'll see. So let's see. We only have Devin and JR on here currently. That's very sad. It's very sad to me. We only have 2 people. Probably because I goofed up the freaking link, because I'm an idiot. Used to this. Not used to this. That's why I meant not used to this yet. Still screwing it up. That's what I do. All right, we have 4 people watching. Y'all patrons, man, get in the chat, please. Say something. We love. I mean, it's cool that you want to lurk and everything, but it's kind of nice to see who's on. So if you're lurking, say something in the chat, because it would be nice to hear from you. At least know you're alive and stuff. All righty. Where did my original window go?
went ahead and resized it so I could have both windows up here so I could see the chat on the side as well as the video.
That's pretty much what I'm doing.
This is one where we need that. I posted a link to this new monitor that's like 2 HD monitors side by side, big old wraparound sort of thing.
Yeah, 270 degrees of ugly. That's what that would be. That's exactly what you want. Oh shit. Yeah. In my next life, I will definitely get a second monitor. It'll make things easier. Technically, if Terry is one of those, yeah, I know. Okay, so maybe there's really only 2 of you watching since I count, or something along those lines.
When did you start counting again?
Well, it said there were 4 people watching. I don't know if it counts us or not, and now it says there's only 3. So I'm all confused. I don't know if that means you closed a door or what, or closed a thingy. I don't know.
I've still got it open.
You still got it open? Okay.
Yeah.
My chat closed. What the hell? Oh, there it is.
Ha! You're the one. Oh, ha, ha, ha. So, in 15 minutes, we'll be bringing our guest on. Who are we going to dazzle them with? That's going to make us look smart.
No. You mean who's going to make us look stupid?
I feel stupid for having to think about this. Like, how did I say that again?
J Daniel Store. J Daniel.
J Daniel.
Yeah. See what you did? You've totally screwed everything up. Thanks. We're live, and you're just effing us up.
How am I responsible for the way you talk?
Because you just keep interrupting and making me just do stupid things. See, it's J.R. Hanley knows. J Daniel Sawyer. That's who's coming on. One of our patrons has a clue.
I already knew who it was. I wanted to hear you say it. You know, this is broadcast. You've got to actually say the words. You can't just think them.
Oh, gee, thanks, Devin. You're right. Yeah, he is quite a motivating individual. Let's go with that, shall we? Let's go with that.
Sure, let's run with that.
Let's run with it. Yeah. We're obviously failures as live broadcasters. We don't do this enough to actually, you know, we need to do this more often so we get a clue on how to do it right.
Well, just wait. One of these days, the podcast is going to be a video cast, and we're going to be doing this every week.
I actually am not exactly against that if I don't have to edit the video. I'm not really against that at all.
You're not hearing me say that in a complaining tone of voice either. I'm not necessarily against that as well.
I think that would be cool. The only problem is we probably have to change what time we record so that people could actually watch it. But
you know, that's got its pluses as well, because, you know, even though we normally record the show on Tuesdays at 2:00, I could get more writing time in if I got it done sooner. So recording later in the day, someday in the week, that is not necessarily something that I would object to.
Okay, we'll have to discuss that. We'll have to discuss that. But that is something. Is that something you patrons would enjoy if we did a live show every week?
Then they'd have to see our ugly mugs once a week.
Yeah, but right now they're tuning in to see our ugly mugs. So how is this any different?
Yeah, well, okay. I'll buy into that argument.
You could see how Paul's study changes week to week, and you know, whatever crazy cat.
I'm gonna have to get a banner, you know, put behind me if that's the case. Make it look like I'm in some high-tech recording studio, whereas I'm just, you know, still basically in a storage room. With a banner behind me.
Oh man, yeah, that would be perfect. That's exactly what you want. I can see Luna in the background laying down, looking like a doggy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terry usually, when I do my or whatever it is I'm doing for how the week was, yeah, it's usually a good thing. It's usually very, very funny.
Looks like that.
Yeah, looks like that. That felt good. So audiobooks, brother. Got to get those suckers up there, man.
I know what you mean. I sent Veronica off my corrections for paying the price. So sooner or later, that's gonna be done and up. One more book.
Right. The vape is, in fact, because I've quit smoking. That's the only way I can keep from killing all of you.
I don't know if you're vaping. I'm not sure that you've technically quit smoking because you're still getting the nasty, evil drugs in your system.
Well, actually, I've cut the nicotine down to 6 from 24.
Oh, that's a pretty big reduction.
Yeah, huge reduction. So it's almost at 0. It's pretty close to it. So it takes a lot of puffs to get any significant nicotine in there. So I did do something. I talked to Veronica Jaguar and we worked out a price, and she's going to narrate the things I do for love. So
what exactly is that again?
That is the story that started the Garaga stuff, started the entire mythos. That is the story.
Those are such nice, pretty words for what is probably a dark and evil story.
Exactly.
It sort of reminds me of a meme that I saw on Facebook that had a scene from The Sound of Music with what's her name on the mountaintop with the guitar playing for the kids. But the words that went along with it on the meme were from a Metallica song.
Yeah, probably Enter Sandman or some shit.
Darkness
imprisoning me.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Darkness imprisoning me.
Oh, let me see. Absolute horror. I cannot live. I cannot die. I just saw those bozos in concert last Sunday.
I always thought, I never thought it was, I thought it was how can I live? How can I die? Just sounded wrong.
I cannot live. I cannot die. Let's see. What are we doing? She does have 15 more Terry Mixon novels to get through first, but this is a short story.
She's working full time now.
Yeah,
maybe I'll have more books come out amongst all the other books that I'm sure are flooding onto her schedule.
Yeah, pretty much. The audio from this will not make it into DRS proper. It will be on Patreon, but the video is also saved on Patreon or for you guys on YouTube. And I think, and I just did this morning, I released our last 2 live shows that we did up on YouTube for everybody. So basically y'all are the normal people, the proletariats are getting it a month after the Patreon. The plebes. But I will not be making audio of those shows unless there's like serious outcry. Basically, you need to go look at the videos because a lot of extra work.
Yeah,
but,
and that's perfectly fine. I'm not advocating any extra work. All I originally said was that a month after we make it, it's available to everybody that wants to see it.
Yeah,
YouTube works perfectly fine.
Now, what I can do is I can grab the audio from the video file once it's downloaded and can basically put that together without any editing. And I can put that up for the Patreon folks. We'll have to, this is still a work in progress and we're still figuring out exactly everything we want to do. And y'all, you patrons are part of the way we figure that out. You need to tell us what you want, how you want the content so that we can better, we can give you a better experience. Because I mean, essentially, we're doing what we've always done. All we're doing is we're doing it a little bit differently and presenting it differently, but the show itself hasn't really changed yet.
So when you're ready for Paul to actually put clothes on.
Hey, I'm wearing clothes today. I'm wearing my Fear and Loathing on Sesame Street shirt.
I forget, if this was audio, no one would ever know.
That's true. You
could be doing like the cable guys on South Park and tweaking your nipples.
Oh, no. But that only happens when we have Justin on.
There's a visual,
Yeah,
And speaking of having Justin on, the 9th anniversary of the show is August 9th.
10th anniversary, isn't that what you said?
No, it's year 10 of us doing it, which makes it the 9th anniversary of the show. Because the first anniversary is after a year of doing something.
Okay, but the show's been on 10 years.
The show will have been on 10 years, which is the 9th anniversary. It's all very confusing. Don't even ask about it or the millennium or, anything like that because it requires a little bit of math. But trust me, we've been on the air 10 years come August 9th.
Amazing. Amazing.
And we're planning on having Justin back on and Scott back on to talk. And who knows, maybe even we can work out something with Eliana. Nobody knows what could happen.
It could happen. Paul will have to get off his ass and do some scheduling, or he's going to have to make Terry do it.
I can schedule something, then you'll be surprised and go, what? We're doing what? When? God damn it, why didn't you tell me?
And then I'll force Terry to go put it on Twitter. That'll be fun.
Oh, that's not happening. I haven't posted on Twitter since 2014. I'm not going to break that streak.
Wow. All the Twitter hate.
Damn kids. Get off my lawn.
Do we still talk to Ryan or some of the earlier hosts too?
I've sent emails to Ryan on occasion, but I've never received a response. I'm not sure that email address is even valid anymore. I just don't know that he's very social media.
I haven't spoken to Ryan in several years, and Eliana occasionally on Facebook, but I haven't talked to her in quite a while. She, if I remember correctly, is writing nonfiction and essays and whatnot, articles these days.
Who is?
Eliana.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I only see her occasionally on Facebook, so I'm not really sure what else is going on.
Of course, she always posts updates on the twins, so those are fun. Those are always fun. Let's see, how many people do we have watching this? We still only have 3 viewers. Imagine that.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Let me check Facebook real quick, just because.
You should probably post a link there again to let them.
I can't post it there because then everybody will be able to see it.
That's true.
So
you should post a link saying, patrons, go to Patreon.
I did.
And you did already.
I did. I did. I'm not completely inept, just mostly inept.
You're like Igor inept as opposed to Frankenstein inept.
I'm switching between the two of us. Oh, it's scaring everybody. All right, let me get Dan in here. Get him in here real quick. So, patrons, you get to see what's going on behind the show. And isn't it just so exciting to see exactly just how screwy this gets?
The hills are alive.
With the sound of amaze balls. Amaze balls, man. No?
No.
No?
No.
Terry, come on, man. You just don't know anymore.
Yes, Devin, it's been 10 full years, which means the 9th anniversary of the show. I stick by my words on this. I'm being a pedant. Accept it.
I did get an anthology offer. You are correct. I have not responded to it yet because I've been head up rear end. So I hadn't been meaning to announce that, Mr. Handley, but yeah, that's happening. So yeah, full 10 years. 10 years on this show. 10 years for this show. That's just terrifying.
I came into it about episode 50, so
you've been on like 9 years.
About a year of it, so I've been on here 9 years. It makes me look back and go, how could I have wasted my life like this? No, that's not exactly what I said.
It's not exactly what you said. Lies and slander. It's exactly what you said, you douchebag.
I just say the most incendiary things.
You do. I don't know why you enjoy doing that so much, but you do.
I like getting the reaction. I do.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, just checking.
I do like getting the reaction. I never know how many of these you actually allow into the show when you're editing.
Not much. I block a lot of shit out. At least for the regular show. For you Patreon folks who get the raw and unedited, you poor bastards. I'm so sorry. Cooley will not be taking on the Smurfs because Cooley doesn't care about the Smurfs. The only reason he could be so savage and ugly and nasty and horrible to the Sesame Street and the Muppets is because he has childhood love for them. I have nothing but loathing for the Smurfs. So I will not be doing that.
So if you only do this to the things you love, how do we get on your hate list again?
Ask questions like that.
I feel safer already.
You feel safer already. What a crock of shit. A crock of shit, I tell you. All right, Dan's going to be joining us in a moment. Ooh, we have 5 listeners.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun! Yeah, raw and unedited sounds like adult entertainment. You're right. You're right. Which is one of the reasons we can't monetize this show on YouTube because, you know, bad things that happen. Let's see.
I saw his face. There is. His face has appeared.
I'm hiding him from the broadcast for right now.
Blonk.
He's muted and waiting in the green room.
We have a green room?
We do.
That sounds like we are so awesome. We have a green room.
Unfortunately for him, there's no green M&Ms or anything else in there. He's just going to have to sit in timeout. Oh, shit. We're not allowed to monetize because we're just too nasty and horrible and evil.
He says he has tea. You need to send him a link to where the listeners are commenting as well so he can see them.
Oh, okay.
Because he joined our conversation after you posted the link to the group chat that's internal to the video. So he doesn't know that it's happening. Or maybe he does. Maybe he knows, infinitely more than we do about live chatting on YouTube, which wouldn't be hard because we've pretty well screwed this up every time we've done it.
Yeah, it's because the YouTube interface is confusing as hell.
He says he knows all things, but not all things about this chat.
Lies and more slander. I am drinking Topo Chico. Why am I drinking Topo Chico? Because
I posted him a link to where the patrons are chatting.
All right. Well, I did too, but hopefully they'll see yours. Are we ready to bring him on and shower him with our stupidity?
It's 3:30. Let's bring him on. And I don't know what we're going to shower him with, but I hope he, takes a shower when he's done because this is going to be awkward.
Dan, are you ready? Ah, cool. He's on the group chat, so we're in good shape. All righty. Let's get him on here. Show in broadcast.
I see his picture live, but I still see the mute icon.
Hello.
There we go.
Okay.
Do you have a video link for us to see your wonderful face, or are you just going to sit there with your
My face does not look wonderful right now, so I'm going to sit here with my head shot up.
Ah, okay. Well, then
that means the listeners are not going to see anything but your headshot.
That was rather the point.
Oh, come on. They're sitting there looking at us. I mean, it's bad enough we're here. Trust me.
Just look at us to see, you've got a pretty low bar for being better than us, okay?
Yeah, but you're going to post this in the archives online as a video, and that's just... No. I've spent the last 3 days laying a hardwood floor. I look like shit, and I haven't showered.
I showered. My hair's still wet. It was the first time in a week, but hey, you got to have standards when you get in front of the camera.
I don't know. I think there's got you in a wig. There's got to be some drag pictures somewhere.
Have you seen the picture of him in the toga? That's close to drag.
That's very close. Was he wearing a floofy 80s style permed, permed 80s woman wig?
He was wearing slippers.
That would go really well.
I think they were bunny slippers.
That would go really well with the beard and the toga.
JR, rough night in the S&M lounge. Really? Really? Wow.
What? When he says that, I hear dun 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 dun.
Yeah, we were actually talking about that.
When you say toga, I hear Morris Day on the time. So
we were talking about the Blue Oyster Bar from Police Academy last week. I think
it's the Blue Oyster Club. Is that
Blue Oyster Club? Oyster
Blue
Bar
Oyster
Club.
Cult is a band.
It's a band, but there's actually a bar in Police Academy, the original movie, where the two uptight cops have to run into, and
My God, they keep getting dragged into that place at the most awkward moments. It's hilarious.
like they're half naked or something, end up in a leather bar. It's quite funny.
Nice. Yeah, I watched that film while I was writing a book, so I didn't actually see most of it. I mostly listened to it.
Didn't actually pay attention to it. I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So
who was the guy that played the older uptight cop in that? What was the actor?
God,
I don't know. I really only remember what Bobcat Goldthwait from those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he was in number 3, I think.
When I was back in the 90s, I lived in Austin, and I was working in a little place that made nachos and whatnot in a strip mall. Yeah, it was a nothing place. The mall was nothing. It was just a little job, a little place. The restaurant's name was Eat Here, believe it or not. A big sign in the mall said "Eat Here" and had a little arrow pointing down. And he showed up. He was there eating one day. It was the strangest, oddest thing.
Weird. All right, now I'm getting shit for not having alcohol. What the hell, people? Come on.
Oh, come on.
What are you going dry?
No alcohol in here. No alcohol. Topo Chico. This one still has the bottle cap on it.
Ah.
So what is it you were building? You said you've been putting something together, Dan?
Oh, hardwood floor. Well, I wish it was a hardwood floor. Laminate floor. Fortunately, it's not my house.
I'm trying to remember. I know that you were moving from Oregon to Washington. At least that's the last I had heard, but I don't know that it actually took place yet.
Well, it's in process. We're on the road at the moment, couch surfing and everything, because we just got an RV, saving money to buy a piece of property, and then later next year to go on the road around the country to do a documentary.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Documentary on what?
On the changes in the publishing industry over the last few years. There's been a couple good ones for the music industry. There's been the comic book industry had stripped. No one's done one for the publishing industry.
That should be entertaining. That should be very
that would be fun.
Yeah. So what the hell do we have you on here for? Well, first of all, who the hell are you and why should we care?
Oh, I'm J Daniel. Let's see. What did I say in the intro to my daily podcast? Author of 25 books, 34 short stories, God knows how many articles. I've been podcasting since 2009. I've got a major series coming out soon, and I also have another new writer's book that just dropped a couple of months ago. Which
one is that?
It's called Becoming an Everyday Novelist.
Gosh, I sure need that. No, I'm serious. Getting into the groove of doing it every day has been the worst struggle of the last few months. It's been awful.
Yeah, who knows? There might be something useful in there for you. It's structured. It's a 34 daily sort of exercises and discussions about plot structure, business, ergonomics, health, everything to walk you through basically a novel in a month, plus the aftermath involving publishing and whatnot.
The aftermath
to get you into the to help you develop the right habits to be able to make this an everyday thing.
Yes, but do you cover the self-loathing and crushing depression that occurs after you finish a project?
Yes, I actually do.
Good. I need to read that chapter.
Yeah. It's called Project Drop. My solution for Project Drop is I never finish anything without having something else that's halfway done. I know a lot of people who just end that sentence halfway through.
Yes, I know some of those people.
I never finish anything without having something else that's already in progress, so I can switch over between one and the other pretty easily. So, and it really makes a difference for Project Drop for me, because otherwise, if I get done with a big project and I don't have something to jump onto right away, I'll get depressed for 7 or 8 days because it's like a purpose of my life has gone.
Yeah, when I finished Tomb, I dove right into destruction, but I hit a wall very, very quickly. Of course, part of that was changing medications and all sorts of other things. But it's been it's
Once
been
you
really
go off the
difficult.
cocaine, it's a lot more difficult.
If you're gonna quit the blow, you got to have the hookers.
Now, to quit the blow, you got to have the crystal meth. That's how that works, right, monkey? Do the
Hookers
Phil K.
make
Dick
writing
thing.
difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
there's only so many hands you have available at any given time.
Plus, they're distracting. I mean, they always want shit.
If you're on crystal meth while you're writing, you'll be using your hands, and then you're looking at your hands. You're like,
No, that would be
What
when
is
I'm dropping
this?
acid or eating
Yeah, that
mushrooms.
would be acid.
That's a completely different thing.
Meth is like hyper concentrated caffeine injected directly into your nostrils.
minus the teeth.
Yeah, minus the.
Minus
Well,
the
after a
teeth.
while, it's minus the teeth.
Oh, you said minus the teeth. I thought you said minus the tea, which is my preferred caffeine delivery mechanism.
Oh my god, it's so sad.
Feel like those cat pictures, No, I haven't seen your meth, but have you seen the dragons?
I haven't seen your coffee. Have you seen the fucking dragon by the fridge? Yeah. That's pretty much the way that life works. So let me ask you a question. When you're writing something like this particular book for writers, is this self therapy in a way?
Well, this one came out of my daily podcast, which is called The Everyday Novelist at everydaynovelist.com.
Ding.
I started it off because I'd always wanted to do something for NaNoWriMo, because I basically it was attempting to do NaNoWriMo that kicked me from noodling at writing as a hobby to deciding to make it a major focus. So I thought it would be fun to sort of give back to the Nano community by doing a 30-day walkthrough of a novel in a month. And I got to the end of that, and people started sending in questions. So we're now a year and a half in, and it's still going. But the book itself, I took the first 30-day walkthrough, I transcribed it, and then I expanded it by about 50%, going into a lot more detail than you would in just an off-the-cuff talking into a microphone type of thing. So that's where this book came from.
Okay. Interesting. But did that help by the process of doing that? Has that helped you kind of figure out your process, fine tune it a little bit more?
Sometimes it does. In this case, it doesn't. This was much more documenting my process.
Okay.
So if I ever get Alzheimer's, it'll be a very useful thing to have on the shelf.
God.
So I'll just be able to walk myself through every book.
Now I'm scared. Now I'm really scared.
I'm preparing for the future, man.
You're still a young puppy. I don't know what your problem is. We're the old farts on the show. What are you talking about?
You're not that much older.
Okay, well, this is true. Well, Terry, on the other hand, just look at the beard. It's Zeus time, man. He's older than the hills.
Yeah, a whopping 52. I'm ancient.
Yeah, you are ancient. You're just really, really freaking old.
This means that you watched Star Wars when you were 12. I watched Star Wars in utero.
I watched it when I was 7.
Wait a second. Star Wars came out in 79.
77.
77. What was I doing? I was in middle school.
Yep, I said you were 12.
And I was actually in the theater when it came out.
I was 6.
I went to the opening.
I was 6 at that time and was in Canada, and we watched it.
I was in the theater in utero when it came out, so I tried to come out through the opening because I was so excited about it.
No, a better story might be that you were conceived during Star Wars.
Nah, the dates don't line up. I might have been conceived during Logan's run.
Oh, I love that. They keep talking about doing a remake of it, and I want to see that.
Yeah, particularly if they did a good one instead of just did the kind of remake shit they've been doing recently.
Did you ever read the books?
I've got the books, but I haven't read them.
I've read all 3 of the books. There may actually be 4. I can't recall, but they are virtually nothing like the storyline that they ended up using in the movies, but they are awesome. They are indeed awesome books.
Nice.
Nolan wrote them. I think that's the author's name. Something Nolan.
I think it was. Yeah.
Huh. Maybe that's something we should review at some point. Hint, hint, Terry.
Yeah,
If
but
Terry-
every time I give you an assignment to go ahead and do that isn't in audio or ebook, you freak out. And I don't know that those books are actually going to be in anything but paper.
Well, we have to scout out and see if they are. But I can't even get you to finish the Baba verse for crying out loud.
It's that very next thing. I've got 5 hours left on the book I'm listening to. So Tuesday or Wednesday, I will be listening to it.
Pardon us, Dan. There's got to be some show kicking going on
How
there. between the
many?
hosts.
How long did you delay me in that one book? 4 months. 4 months. So I don't want to hear you bitching that it's been a month and a half. Come on now.
That's because that book sucked. This one's awesome.
I don't even remember what book it was anymore, and I don't know that it sucked.
JR, we're talking about a book that's probably out of print. The author has long since been deceased, and the publisher or the estate hasn't gotten around to putting it in ebook or audiobook.
We don't know. They may actually have it.
They may have. They may have. They may have. You never know. But I agree with you. Authors need to be in digital. They just have got to be in digital.
Yeah. William F. Nolan.
William F. Nolan. Okay.
I'm astonished I remembered that.
So am I.
And he is still alive.
Wow.
He was born in 1928. He's 89 years old.
Damn.
That's a good run.
That is a good run.
No pun intended. And it is available on Kindle.
Hey, look at that.
It may be available in Audible. Let me find here. I'm clicking on that. I'm evilly looking at the Audible editions. Logan's World is available in audio. That's kind of weird. Why wouldn't is that the first one? No, I thought Logan's Run was the first one.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at one called Logan's Run #0. It looks like a graphic novel adaptation.
Well, interesting. We'll have to get that sorted.
And then there's a whole series: Logan's Run Black Flower, Logan's Run Rebirth, all by William Nolan. So either he's licensed it out for ghost-written expanded universe or something.
Interesting. We'll have to see.
It looks like they are indeed available in Audible. So we'll have to look at that.
Paul's clapping. Yay, audiobooks! I love audiobooks.
But yeah, this is the second in my getting back to my book. He
wants to talk about your book.
Becoming the Everyday Novelist. The second in my Everyday Novelist series of books. The first one is about the writing business. This one is the basics of the craft, and I've got 5 more at various stages in the shoot, but they're currently taking a back seat to finishing up the big science fiction series.
And what big science fiction series might that be?
It would be known to previous podcast listeners as the antithesis progression. It has been, it's going to be, it's in the process of being rebranded to the Cabricon Ascendancy, partly because you shouldn't need a philosophy degree to understand the titles. That was a big branding mistake on my part. And secondly, because it turns out I got halfway through what was going to be book 3, and it turned out I was missing a book back at the beginning. So I had to pop back and do a new book 1, which took place during the beginning of the initial book. So that means the initial book is then getting a heavy go over to bring it into continuity, and the originally second, now third book is getting the same treatment, and then I'm getting back to the 4th book to finish it. So it'll be a 6-book series instead of a 5-book series, and it's going to start coming out on September 1st, and it's going to drop 1 per month until all 6 are done.
Holy crap.
Yeah, these are, and they're weighing in at between 120 and 250,000 words apiece.
Well, there's your problem.
It turned out to be a lot bigger series a lot bigger story than I thought it was, but oh boy, is it so much fun.
I've never heard those statements before. Bigger story than I intended. Yeah.
I take it that's happened to you a couple times.
He's the creator of the epic short story.
Stop it. Well, Derelict.
Was that the Garagas Children's series?
Oh, God, no. The Garagas Children's series was always supposed to be huge, but Derelict was supposed to be a one-off. The Black was supposed to be a one-off.
The book you wrote for Sigler was supposed to be a novella, so you wrote an epic novella. That's where this came from.
Look.
Well, don't feel too bad. This 6-book series that's going to run around 1 million words started off as
half of a Brandon Sanderson novel.
Yeah, started off as a 20-page short story 25 years ago, or 20 years ago.
Now, see, I remember, I think the first podcast of yours I listened to had Joss Kyle in it.
Yep, that's the series.
And it was it was a short story where they were in South America.
Yep.
So, yeah, The Man in the Ring.
So this new book that I just finished, pull up the link so I can send cover art to everybody. This new first book that I just finished ends with The Man in the Rain.
Ah, okay.
But from Joss's point of view, not Mondu's.
Ah, okay. Well, now I'm really interested because that first one was crazy. I am not going to write an introduction to the next Sanderson novel. Brandon Sanderson doesn't know who I am and couldn't care less.
We're going to have to introduce you.
Why would you do that to him?
Because he takes the podcasting word from us. I think that we should go ahead and, torture him as much as he's tortured us.
Yes, but as opposed to us, his podcast is actually good. Now.
But is it because he's on it, or is it because...
It's because Howard and Ryan are on it.
I think it's because Howard's on it, because Howard's awesome.
Howard is awesome. Howard is wonderful.
Okay, so since the chat is censoring my link, if you want to see the cover for the new book, which will be available on September 1st, it is called The Briggs Defection, and it is at artisticwhispers.com/covers.
Why did it censor your link? That's really odd. I wonder if maybe I've got a setting somewhere that's screwed that up.
The YouTube thing censored my link. I can paste it to you guys here in the inside baseball chat if there's any way to put the cover up on the screen.
I posted a link to Amazon. Did that get censored as well?
Yes, it did.
Well, damn it.
Yep, that sucks. I'm gonna have to look and see if there's a way to turn that off because there's no reason to have it with these people because we know who these folks are. So I'll have to look into that. Did I mention we're still trying to figure all this out?
I agree, Devin. 15 minutes is a great time frame. We're never going to make 15 minutes.
We can't even get through the pre-show in 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, my daily runs between 5 minutes and 30, depending on the kind of question I get.
Well, I mean, if it's one person, it's pretty easy to get in that length. Howard and those folks, they record like 6 or 7, I think, of one of those things in one day. At least the live ones, especially when they go to cons and whatnot. So it's a little bit of a different format of show, and they're very, very focused. Our show is like a conversation with tidbits in it. Although we try and get more tidbits than just a conversation, but Terry's long-winded.
Yes, I am. I can't shut my damn mouth.
You guys could do a 15-minute podcast. You could just do a 15-minute podcast over who's going to get the coffee. That could be every morning.
Yeah, that's what we need. So one of those books going to start dropping, you think?
September 1st, and then 1st. The first of every month after that.
Wow. That's going to be crazy.
Yep.
That's going to be crazy. So what else do you have coming out?
Between now and then, we're going to finally drop the final Suave Rob installment, which will be Suave Rab's you can tell I just woke up. Suave Rob's Amazing Ass-Saving Association. And then there'll be the Automotive, which is an urban fantasy, and those will drop. Suave Rob will drop beginning of July, and the Automotive will drop in August.
So what's the difference between writing a science fiction and fantasy for you?
Fantasy's boring. No.
Well, there went half of our patrons just clicked out.
No.
If they didn't click through when you went ahead and were going your wild fantasy rants, they're going to be just fine with that.
My wild fantasy rants.
I hate fantasy, blah, 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 blah.
No. I never said that. I never said that. I said I loathe most epic fantasy.
The difference in my case is I don't know. I have no idea. Fantasy was a lot more difficult, or at least this particular fantasy was a lot more difficult. This one, the automotive, I took about 7 runs at over the course of 6 years until I finally found the story. I had a lot of great moments, but I didn't have a story, and
that never happens
to me. To find it, but I don't know. I grew up on fantasy, but as I got older, I kind of lost my taste for it. And all the things I like best about it are things I've seen done so well that I have no desire to recapitulate them. I think they've been done as well as they can be done.
What are some of your favorites?
Oh, well, there's the big ones like Chronicles of Narnia, Lord of the Rings. Those were fantastic. The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, the Unbeliever. I had a particular affinity for the Xanth novels and the Incarnations of Immortality by Piers Anthony. Enjoyed quite a lot the Myth books by Robert Asprin.
You've just had all the highlights of my reading of fantasy when I was younger.
Cool. Yeah, I really liked the Solus series. I only picked it up because it was written by a friend of mine, but I really enjoyed that one. Those are the ones that pop to mind. I mean, my books are all in storage right now, or I could look at the shelf. But those are the ones that pop by. I liked Fritz, and of course, when you edge into horror, I really liked Fritz Leiber, H.P. Lovecraft, and Robert E. Howard, and that kind of stuff.
Fritz Leiber, didn't he also do some high fantasy? I seem to remember something about thieves and swords somewhere.
I think so. I didn't read any of his high fantasy. I did read a lot of his dark fantasy, though.
Was that Thieves' World? Is that the series he did?
I don't think so. Let me check. I was pretty young, and he was out of print when I read him, so the only covers that he had were were those 60s covers that don't stick in the mind because they look like some modern art student was bored and on acid at the time.
Well, I always drop acid when I'm bored.
Fafard and the Grey Mouser. That's what I read from him. Fafard and the Grey Mouser books.
Okay.
I beg your pardon.
Hey, I'm just telling you the way it is, pal.
Also liked a lot of Lynn Carter's stuff. So,
all right, authors to look at.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite science fiction authors?
Favorite science fiction authors?
Are you fishing for hints there, Paul? Or are you trying to get your name to mention your name? Just going these things that you are. What's up?
No, I'm simply asking because there's another question coming after this.
Heinlein, Donaldson, Clark, Bradbury, who's also one of my favorite fantasy authors. Serling, also one of my favorite fantasy authors. God, there's a bunch of them. Those are the ones and Douglas Adams, of course. Those are the ones that I return to and reread a lot.
Do you feel like you gathered a lot of inspiration from that mishmash to create something as large and ridiculously complicated as the antithesis progression?
Well, the Stephen R. Donaldson's The Gap Cycle was an initial inspiration for the short story that kicked off the Cabricon series, but the first one that eventually turned into what used to be called Predestination. But the real inspiration, I think, came from my love for historical fiction and spy fiction. So people like Alex Haley and Gary Jennings and Ken Follett and Robert Graves, those kinds of books are the one, and Herman Wouk, those kinds of books are the ones that really stand behind this series as far as the inspiration and the driving passion.
Well, I remember the first 2 books, and I'm going to keep calling it Antithesis because you're trying to throw a new title at me. My brain just doesn't work that way. What is the new title again?
We're in public here, and I'm trying to acclimate the public to the new title.
What's the new title called?
The Cabra Khan Ascendancy.
Cabra
Yes,
Khan.
that's so much more memorable.
Yeah.
What is with these? Why didn't you
It
go with
actually
something,
has something to
that
do
you
with
can spell? Just asking.
Because the Cabra Khan are the group that winds up running the world at the end of this series. So it has something to do with the story. The antithesis progression was a title I picked because at the time I started writing it, I was deeply in love with Hegel, and Hegel had a theory of history that said that all history moves from thesis to antithesis to synthesis. And in one of my philosophy classes, someone made a joke about people like me who are habitually picking things apart and asking impertinent questions that we get stuck at antithesis. That was where the historical ideas for the series came from, and so that's why the series got that name.
Just throwing out, unsolicited advice that is far too late for me to actually give, because that's how I roll.
Wow, Terry's on a roll again.
I'm on a roll today. I would have actually just called it the Ascendancy as opposed to the Cabra Khan Ascendancy, because
except that the Ascendancy is already taken. It took me years to find something that wasn't taken, but yeah.
I'm full of unsolicited advice, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
We know all too well. What I loved about the first two books and that you put out there in the Cabra Khan Conspiracy or Ascendancy before you changed the damn name and confused the shit out of me, was you had the part of, you had the espionage stuff going on. You had a rogue agent of some sort who was basically walking around with a head full of secrets, which could do a lot of damage to very powerful people. And then you had all these poor schmucks caught up in the web of the entire mess. And so those quote unquote minor characters became major in their own right by virtue of what they stumbled into.
And that's this, and the series explores that whole thing. What I've done is I've stepped back to the point at which Joss, or the guy who becomes Joss Kyle, originally his name is Reuben Briggs, to the point at which Briggs finds out about the contract on his life and decides to run.
Right.
And then he just creates this trail of havoc across the solar system and starts the first interplanetary war, all because he just doesn't want to get caught and killed. But the character arc for this character over the course of the series it's as if Dick Cheney became Edward Snowden by way of Al Capone.
There's an elevator pitch for you.
Now, I remember on one of the interviews you mentioned the Blacklist.
Oh boy, yeah,
my favorite show.
When that came out, I had this moment. I'm like, they read my fucking books.
At least it was my favorite show until this last season. I'm not sure what the hell they were drinking.
I haven't caught up. The end of the past season, the second to the last episode was the best one they ever did, and then at the end they undid it all, and I'm like, really, fucking really. So I haven't watched this season yet, but Raymond Reddington and Joss Kyle are very similar.
Very similar.
That's a huge selling point right there, because Raymond Reddington is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, okay, here we go. Here's
Joss
your
Kyle.
elevator pitch. Imagine The Blacklist done as historical fiction about the first interplanetary war.
I gotta go. I'm done there.
Dude, I need to smoke more guns just to parse that statement. Wow.
Set the Blacklist 100 years in the future and put the setting as the first interplanetary war instead of the War on Terror. And you got kind of the idea.
Interesting. That's not too bad of an elevator pitch. That's not too bad at all. Well, I just fell in love with the first two books, and it was one of the first podcasts I really got into. So I have fond memories.
Excellent. Well, you'll be getting you're on my super secret ARC page, so you're going to be getting the ARC for the new book 1 in a couple days here. So you will get to read it and comment on it.
Yes.
Speaking of which, if any of your readers want an ARC to be on the street review team for this thing, I've got a link we can give them.
Okay, put it
If
in the.
we could actually share links.
No, put it in the group. Put it in the group chat, and what I'll do is I'll put it on the. I'll actually tag and annotate the YouTube video with the links.
Okay,
that's what I'll do, so they can go back and look at the YouTube video.
There we go. That's for if they are just readers, and that's for people with followings, like bloggers or whatnot.
Okay, those bozos.
Yeah.
People other than ourselves, because we don't have followings.
We have stalkers.
We have stalkers.
J.R. Handley's been stalking me on Twitter.
That's okay. He's been stalking me too. He's a good stalker. He keeps me in questions when everyone else is
just be glad,
out to lunch.
Just be glad you don't have video chats with him, because he wears this raincoat, and let's just not get into the details here, but it's not the prettiest thing.
He wears a raincoat and the camera keeps getting covered with something periodically.
That's right. And he doesn't wipe it up well either.
Brings a whole new meaning to the term hard focus.
Become a Patreon member and be abused in person. And by abuse, we don't mean what you do to yourself.
What is the sound of one hand fapping? Yep, the show's got off the rails. Here we go again.
And we're all watching the chat window to see when the live cast catches up with what we just said.
It's usually not too hard to sort out.
He said I snorted my fucking coffee, you bastards.
Yes!
Score! That's how I always know we've done a good show when Veronica posts on Facebook that she just snorted her coffee. That's how I know that we done good. We done real good.
Yeah, JR says in the chat, sometimes I wonder what J.D. Sawyer smokes. Well, let me tell you, I smoke the pages of ancient manuscripts and the bones of dead shaman.
Oh, wow. I just roll up some Jeff Sessions and some old papyrus scrolls and go crazy.
Well, that works.
Oh man, and this shit's actually going to be out there on the internet.
Yep. But yeah, no. To finish your question about influence and what stands behind this, I got done with book 2 and I kept trying to write book 3, and I kept running into different walls. And one of them was, it turned out that I needed to be an expert in several fields I wasn't yet. So in the meantime, I have spent the last 4 years getting a graduate level education in geopolitics and ancient history, because I needed that stuff in order to finish this book, or in order to finish this story. And it really shows the universe has gotten a lot deeper and a lot more comprehensible and a lot darker.
What part of ancient history did you need to get a better grasp on?
Well, particularly the Bronze Age collapse is what I wound up honing in on. I've been really good. I grew up, my father's a history professor. So I've always known like history from the Romans up till the Enlightenment, basically cold. And in my adult life, I've learned history since the Enlightenment, but not geopolitics so much. But back about 1,500 years, I can't remember the exact date right now, it was 1275, I think it was, BC. In the space of 100 years, all of the major ancient civilizations collapsed. All of them. And they, from Africa all the way through Asia and India. Europe and India. That whole sphere, everything collapsed within the space of 100 years, which shouldn't happen. And all the theories that have been advanced for it over the last 150 years up until recently were unable to account. They could account for this civilization, but not that civilization collapsing and whatnot. But it was odd because it was an equilibrium that had obtained in the ancient world for a little over 1,000 years. And before that, it was built on an equilibrium that lasted for 2,000 years before that. The geopolitical picture was the same. There was the kind of churn you get like you've had in Europe over the last few hundred years. But it was basically a stable geopolitical and economic equilibrium with established trade routes, established interests. You always kind of knew where you stood. And then all of a sudden, everything fell apart, historically speaking. 3 generations, it all went away. Well, it turns out that the civilizations were hit with a series of disasters, any 3 of which they could have coped with. But there was a major upsurge in earthquakes and volcanic activity at the same time that there was major climatic change events, at the same time that there were economic shocks. The only thing that didn't hit these guys was plague, which by our standards would be weird because you have civilization collapse and you don't have anyone dying of plague. But there was no pestilence. There was just a lot of chaos. But that collapse is why we're here today. That collapse created the geopolitical equilibrium that we have lived in ever since then. And so I'm writing about the next major shift, major civilizational shift in equilibrium from the Earth-centered countries to the solar system.
Right.
I need to understand as much as I can about what happened last time a shift of this size happened, as well as studying the last time a shift of the size of the one we're going through right now happened, because that's in my future history. Today's shift is the sort of Silmarillion to the big shift, which I'm writing about. It's the prequel that sets it up.
You know, I wouldn't use the Silmarillion as a selling point of anything.
The Hobbit then. The Hobbit.
If you've ever tried to read the Silmarillion, which I have.
Yeah, no, you can't read it. You can read it out loud, though, and if you read it out loud, it makes sense. But it's written in poetic meter.
Is that one written in iambic pentameter, or is it written in something else?
Yeah, it's very close. It's written in the same meter that Beowulf is written in,
Okay.
which is why it's impenetrable to read on the page. But the minute you hear someone reading it out loud, it's utterly enchanting.
I don't even want to know how many, Audible credits it takes to get the Silmarillion. If somebody could actually record it.
Martin Shaw recorded it, and it's amazing and really worth listening to.
Lies, and slander.
Totally serious. I've never been able to read it, but I've listened to it 5 times.
There's one book that we are never going to have as a reading assignment on this show.
Actually, as long as I'm involved in this show, we will never have Tolkien at all as a reading assignment. Ever. Ever. I'm sorry. I know he's been put up on this vaunted pedestal, and I know all the great things he did for more or less genesis of a lot of fantasy literature. Can't stand his writing. Can't stand it.
Is anyone else hearing a echo in the audio?
Yep.
Hold on. Let me put some headphones on. It's probably coming from me.
It's coming from Dan.
It wasn't bad until just shortly ago.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find some headphones here.
Echo, 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 echo.
I can't find some headphones, so I'll just turn you guys down.
There we go.
I'll just speak louder.
I know you're trying to hit on me, Paul, but I have to turn you down.
Oh, damn. I even showered for you, man. You didn't get back to me. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Is that what that strange smell is?
I've just now I got Sisters of Mercy. I got Sisters of Mercy now going through my head. Get pretty for you and me. Yeah.
But yeah, the universe is ticking over well, and the words are flowing. I'm getting 5,000 a day, and it's a beautiful thing.
Are you using dictation to write?
Nope. I haven't had time to train myself on that. I can do it for nonfiction. Can't do it for fiction.
I've
Terry-
moved into using it for my fiction, and it's slowly picking up speed, but it's maybe 40% faster than me writing. Now, if I can just make it a little cleaner, I'll be happy.
Nice. Yeah, no, I've spent so long learning to write through my fingers, and the brain goes to the fingers. It doesn't go through my language centers as far as I know. So
Paul's brain goes through his fingers too.
Yeah, pretty much.
I will have to retrain myself. Everyone's talking about it now, and I'm like,
You know what really shocks me about it is I'm taking a workshop from Dean right now on self-editing, and I mentioned that I was testing out Dragon, and I didn't get a comment back. I expected a negative comment about it back, because anytime I say to Dean, I'm doing something, and he says, extreme caution. Pretty much everything I think I'm doing, he says extreme caution.
What the hell is that all about?
You have to know Dean for this.
yeah, you have to know. Dean has been around long enough to have seen every kind of writerly train wreck it's possible to imagine. And just goes into any conversation assuming that because 99% of writers train wreck themselves in some fairly predictable manner, that anyone who's doing a radical experiment is putting themselves at risk for that and will probably smash.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anytime I come up with a brand new idea of doing something, it's wrong. It pretty much is.
Well, yeah, you got to remember, dude's a professional poker player. He plays the odds, and and because of that,
Hey, I'm not saying that he's wrong, mind you.
I've got this wonderful idea. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's been done before. It's sort of like when I was in software. Hey, why don't we do that? No. Why? Why? Because it won't work. How do you know? Because I've tried it before. Because I'm the moron who thought it was a good idea last time and it didn't work. And I can tell you all the reasons why it won't.
Hey, dictation works for Kevin J. Anderson, so maybe it's not, just totally crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if it were, is this like anything else that we've talked about on this show? If it works for you, then it works for you. Just do it.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I'm hesitant to try it is so many of my characters speak in localized dialects.
Right.
That would be a problem,
I can hear that music in my head, but I can write many more dialects than I can speak. I can speak about 30, and I can write a lot more than that. And the idea of going around with walking around the mountains or whatnot with a dictaphone in my hand and trying to talk like the Mumbai, and I'm just like, the Pumas will shoot me for being racist,
Oh, God.
Who's going to shoot you?
Anyone?
So what?
Yeah, you said somebody's going to shoot you. Could you repeat that word?
Pumas, the mountain lions.
The Pumas are going to shoot you. Okay. Those are pretty heavily armed Pumas.
Well, if Dan would lock his guns up at night, this wouldn't be a problem. Instead, he's arming the goddamn
Wait.
thing.
You're from Texas and you're telling me that my wildlife is more heavily armed than yours?
I'm just saying.
If your Pumas have guns, they're a little more heavily armed than ours.
Now, granted,
hey, look, they've got to hold off bears and hippies and meth cookers
Wait a second.
and people like me.
Exactly how hard is it to hold off the hippies? I'm sorry, but forgive me here, but having somebody go, whoa, look at the colors, it's not exactly a threat.
only if they're wearing too much patchouli.
You say that, but I just watched the CNN series on the 1970s and all the places that got bombed.
Those were hippies that had, some backbone. Modern hippies? I don't know.
Anytime you get anyone who is a true believer in anything, doesn't matter where it is on the political spectrum, someone's going to get shot.
I heard something yesterday on the news, which, forgive me for bringing in the news and modern events for this, but somebody had said that radicalization had entered the political spectrum. And I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Where the fuck have you been the last 10 years?
There we go.
Now it's a predictable rhythm in American history. Every 2 generations this happens. It's gonna happen now. It's gonna be ugly, and then it'll get better again. It always does.
God,
We'll
I never pegged you as an optimist, Dan.
I'm a pessimistic optimist. But
I'm a cynical
Okay.
optimist.
What is it? A pessimist is an optimist with a sense of history?
That's a
yeah,
cynic.
kind of like that.
That's
But
a cynic.
to be utterly serious about it for a moment, my view goes something like this: all of the things that we count as negative socially are also, they're not different qualities from the things we count as positive. They're different different contextualizations of those same qualities. The process of history and evolution, whether it's biological or cultural evolution, is the process of veering too far to one side, bumping up against a hard limit, veering too far to the other side, bumping up against a hard limit. That's why we see pendulums of ideology that swing here and there. We are a social predatory species. It is in our nature to form tribes and to kill things. And those are our best qualities and our worst qualities, depending on the way those two qualities talk to each other.
Seeing somebody run up against the hard limits on the left and the right, that's pretty much Paul after a drunken night of darts.
Wow. Fuck you.
but that's why I seem like a pessimist if you talk to me in one situation and an optimist in another.
It's really interesting. I'm going to bring up a book that Terry just absolutely hated, but if you read the entire Strain trilogy, by the third book, you get there's actually a very, very salient moment in book 2 where they describe how the politics and everything else have been orchestrated for thousands and thousands of years. How everything has been orchestrated by the vampires, if you will.
But you have to get to book 1 to get to it. And by the end of book 1, I was rooting for the vampires.
Well, you know, Terry and I diverge on taste multiple times. I'm not
Some
going
of
to
us
say
actually have taste in our mouths, some of us elsewhere.
I'm just simply going to say we have different tastes. There's some things he loves that I loathe, and vice versa. So.
All true.
Not one isn't better than the other. It just means that Terry's an ignorant slut.
I'm not going to go that far. Not going to go that far.
Every time I hear the phrase ignorant slut, I get flashbacks to Good Morning Vietnam.
Why Good Morning Vietnam? I was from SNL.
He said, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, was it from SNL?
Yeah,
oh, that's right. Chevy Chase. Jane, you ignorant slut. You've been down on everything but the Titanic. Okay.
Correct.
I always think that's from
Aykroyd.
Good Morning Vietnam for some reason.
Wasn't it Dan Aykroyd that kept saying that to Gilda Radner?
It must have been. You're right. It must have been.
I think it was Aykroyd. Jane, you ignorant slut. Yeah,
because I'm hearing the voice in my head now. Yeah.
Oh, the horrible things I remember from the 70s. Just,
I'm astonished you remember anything from the 70s.
dude, I was young. I remember that shit. Because my sister would turn it on after my parents went to bed.
Here's the essential difference between you and me, Terry. When you were 12, you were watching Star Wars. When I was 12, I was watching men get run over in Tiananmen Square by tanks.
This is totally true. I was not aware of that kind of thing until a decade later.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's just, oh my God. You're a puppy. You're just a puppy.
That's why I believe in happy endings.
because
I wasn't soured as a youth by humanity.
For a moment, I was trying to figure out how the Tiananmen Square massacre correlated with erotic massage. My brain went places you don't want to go.
That's quite
Yeah, you know, when that guy went down on that tank barrel, it was just so awesome.
Open wide. No,
come on, the big bore you have.
This bad taste moment brought to you by.
And then the tank exploded.
I love soldiers of that caliber.
Oh, God damn. That's horrible.
There's a reason why we actually edit the show. Seriously.
Yeah, there is a reason why we edit this show, because we're just lousy human beings. And now you're getting this shit unedited.
So exactly why, again, don't we play, Cards Against Humanity on the air?
Because the entire show is a game of Cards Against Humanity on the air.
So true. Okay.
Actually, Terry, there is an online version of Cards Against Humanity that might actually be fun to play with our patrons at some
Oh,
point.
dear God. What have I done?
Fuck in. Count me in.
Warm, velvety Muppet sex.
See, the difference between Terry and I and you, Paul, is that you use Cards Against Humanity to generate story ideas.
If only that wasn't true.
See, we
No,
can
I
actually
say
play
that, but
Cards
then
Against
I have
Humanity
to
with the
pretend
cards
that
in
I
front of
didn't
us.
write Suave Rob. So
And then we can flip them around and show them to the camera.
This is so wrong.
Anyway. So you're going ahead and releasing the books. What kind of overall time frame? You think it'll actually be done a book a month? You think it'll be done in 6 months?
oh yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, for sure. I need to get this off my plate because I've got another 6-book epic knocking at the back of my brain.
Well, how long have you been working on this one? You've been working on this one for what?
Well, it depends on how
15
you
years?
count it. I'd run you through the whole thing. I got the idea. I got Joss Kyle in my head back when I was 16. So about little under 25 years ago. And I worked out, locations. I did the sort of classic gamer world building thing.
Hmm.
Then realized that I was onto something that was way too big for me to handle. I put it away. I didn't talk about it. Didn't even think about it. Then in 97, I wrote a short story that didn't feature Joss Kyle, just the short story about the card player Alex Hart. And I sent it out to a couple of friends to read it, and they're like, this is the first chapter of a novel. And I'm like, okay. So I wrote the novel, and that was the first draft of Predestination. Okay. Got halfway through Free Will, realized I wasn't up to the job, put it away, gave up on writing, period, gave up on novel writing, period, went and did filmmaking for a while. Then a kid that I was mentoring said, didn't you used to write books? And I'm like, yeah, but they sucked. And he's like, I want to read one. And I'm like, no, they suck. And he's like, no, really, I want to read. 15-year-old kid. They can be annoying. I know, I was one. I never realized how annoying they could be until I was mentoring one. So he nagged me until I finally sent it to him to shut him up. I said, it's terrible. 2 days later, he writes me back. He says, you're right, it's terrible. But there's an interesting story here. You should try again. And so I read it again, and I said, fuck, he's right. There's something here. So I stripped out all but the 2 scenes I really liked, and I started from scratch, and that's where Joss Kyle ran into this story. So that which I was working on when I was 16 and that which I was working on when I was 20 suddenly came together when I was 27. And that's been 13 years since then.
It's strange how some of these things that we try and take up as young writers, they're a little too big for us, that we can come back and basically bring them back to life and give them hopefully the skill that they require.
Yep. And there's a lot about this story that wasn't just the education and the skill. There's a lot about it. I had to be 40 to be able to write it. There's things you learn about the world that is different learning academically than experientially. It makes a difference on how you write it. Yeah.
Well, back when I was trying to get into grad school, I got told one of the biggest reasons why new grads get turned down for graduate school and MFAs is because they haven't lived yet.
Good reason.
So they wanted somebody who was like 2 or 3 years out of college, who'd been, working in a kitchen or whatever else, who had some interesting stuff to report, It's a very interesting idea. I think there's actually some truth to that, because there's definitely things you can bring into writing now that you understand how people relate to one another, or at least have witnessed it. And you may still not understand it, but at least you witnessed it enough to retell it or recount it.
Yeah, I think Star Trek II had the best single line explanation of the difference between expertise and experience. When Khan has given Kirk 60 seconds to turn over all the files on Genesis before he blows them out of the sky, and Kirk and Spock start hacking around with the sensor grid, and Saavik comes over and says, why are you wasting your time on this? I don't understand. And Kirk says, that's because you don't understand why things work on a starship.
Right. Yeah.
And
it is an interesting thing to point out. It's just you may understand the mechanics, you may understand exactly what something does, but you don't understand quite everything about it or why it's designed the way it's designed.
Yes, and it's a whole different level of understanding. And it's impossible to explain how it changes the picture until the person you're talking to has had at least one thing in life where they've broken through that level.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time. It takes at least into your 30s before you can break through on anything for that. And that's if you're extremely curious
and paying attention. Terry, have you been paying attention?
I have been paying attention.
I don't believe it.
Okay.
So Terry, when are we going to see Suave Rob show up in your universe? When is that going to happen?
Oh God, Lord! I don't know if I have any Nova surfing that's going to take place.
Well, in Suave Rob's Amazing Ass Saving Association, due out beginning of July.
Ding.
Ding, ding. Suave Rob discovers a second underground civilization engaged in a slave trade for fun, and so he decides to go after the slave traders because he's already surfed a supernova. So the real adrenaline is now in doing something completely different.
God. Yep, that's whack.
Oh, I got to send you these books, Paul, because you will love them.
Well, I've got the first one. I just haven't finished it yet.
The first one is fun. The second one opens with a description of lameness. Of how once you've achieved the ultimate, all you're left with is lameness. How lame is lame? Gandhi lame. Because who really tries to fight an all-powerful empire by wearing a diaper at them?
Oh, God.
That's where the book starts.
Oh no, this is just wrong.
It's crazy from there.
Oh man,
you will love it.
Probably. I'm sick and twisted, just like you.
Yes.
Terry, on the other hand, he's kind of like just look at the beard. He's like this
I'm
is
Spock from the Mirror Mirror universe.
I don't know, man. You look a little like Donald Sutherland in the Puppet Masters.
Oh, yes. 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 You are correct, sir. You are correct, sir. Only not as suave and debonair.
Never.
But just
Donald
as weathered.
Sutherland is way out of my league.
It's okay. I don't think you're his type.
Well, you never know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll have to ask Kiefer next time we see him. We'll have to see him. Are you bitching about an $8 ebook? You are.
That was not me.
No, it's J.R. Hanley. He's bitching about an $8 ebook. I can understand that.
They were talking about Mike Cole's Shadow Ops series. I read one of the prequels for that, and I can't remember what the name is. I think it was a series that came before his Shadow Ops. And it had the main character was turned into a zombie, and it was maybe a little darker than my sister, but it was well done. It was well written. The world was, for that guy, was just so dark, though.
I haven't read any Mike Cole, so I'm gonna have to get on that at some point.
I haven't either. Great guy. I've met him, but I haven't.
Yeah, I've met him too. I met him too, and I've watched some things he says and whatnot. He's a really interesting dude. So he seems like a great guy.
I agree with Sue. They are indeed reanimated corpses because the soul is still there. It's just your body is falling apart and you're losing your humanity.
Mm.
Oh, so becoming a politician.
Better hygiene.
Well, wasn't there a show called Brain Dead or something like that where all the politicians got infected by some brain worm?
Brain Dead. Well, that must have been the Peter Jackson film, but I don't think I saw.
No, it wasn't a film. It was a series, a TV series that was on for a while on Showtime or Cinemax or one of those. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm sure the comments will tell us at some point. But yeah, there was something like that where some of the politicians got infected by some alien brainworm, and nobody noticed. They were just as stupid and narcissistic as ever. So,
oh man.
So you got six books you're gonna put out.
Yep.
And then you've got the nonfiction stuff you've been working on.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you have time to actually do anything? Are you still recording the audiobooks yourself and doing the multicast engineering?
Well, I am, but it's on hold right now because I'm doing a bunch of audiobooks for clients in order to be able to buy some land. So that is eating up all my audiobook production time, which really annoys me because I want to be doing my shit. But that'll come to an end in November or so, and then I'll be back on my shit. But yeah, I've got a lot of books to catch up on, and I've got the podcast to get going again.
Dan Sawyer, I want him to do my ebook. So you're just gonna have people just running through your doorway to have people do your ebooks.
Oh, God. Ebooks or audiobooks? I'm all confused.
Audiobooks. But I do ebooks too, but those are a lot faster. Those take a few hours.
Yeah, if the person handing you the manuscript doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Ebooks are pretty easy.
Yeah. If they know what they're doing, they don't come to me.
Well, yeah,
unless they want my CSS.
Yeah, there's I'm not even going to get started on that. I've had people who should know how to do it, but they just like freak out, throw up their hands and go, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not that difficult. I don't know what I'm doing. That's
the basis of the economy. There's jobs I don't like to do and other people do, and I'm very happy to pay them so that I don't have to do them. It's a glorious thing.
I just use minions, I just have a whole fleet of minions.
You actually have a fleet of minions?
Oh yeah, they're right behind me. Can't you see them? All the stuffed animals over there, they do their jobs.
I thought it was your cats.
No, the cats are definitely not minions. They think I'm their minion. But you know how this works? You have a house full of cats.
It's true.
JR says his kids are reading machines. In that case, may I point out that I have 2 YA books. Adrian's Flight and then The Automotive, which is coming out in August, is also a YA book.
Good God. Will you stop saying that? I don't have a bell. Ding, 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 ding. Good God. Here's the deal, patrons. Go buy all of J Daniel Sawyer's shit just to be sure. Just buy it all. Just buy it all. There needs to be.
Well, I've been out of the loop on fiction publicity, so I'm getting my feet back under me on this one.
JR, commas are very important because you just said that you married Paul. Commas are very important. Ask Sue; she will tell you.
There's actually an editor in the chorus right now. That's what we're going to call them. They're actually the chorus.
She has bled over many of my manuscripts and argued with my whole comma usage policy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. been smacked. Been hit with the whip. The usual. We all need
more minions. Well, Mormonism. Sorry, I've just been researching the FLDS because an offshoot of them 100 years from now plays a big role in the Antithesis or the Capricorn series. So,
have you read The Expanse at all?
No, I haven't read The Expanse yet.
You definitely should put that on your list. Definitely should put that on your list. I think you would really enjoy the hell out of it, especially the solar system politics that are going on. It's pretty crazy.
In that case, I should read it after I finish my books.
Yes, you should. I made the mistake of starting to listen to the audiobooks when I was 3/4 of the way through the first book in the Derelict Saga and went, oh shit, this has already been done, and almost wrecked my car because of it. And then they got past.
Already been done.
Then they got past that point, and I was like, phew, I'm different enough. It's fine. Everything's cool and groovy.
I expect mine will be different. I don't think anyone's tried to do hard geopolitical sci-fi in the inner solar system yet.
No, that's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
That's a completely different animal.
Oh boy, I'm having so much fun with this. Do the listeners have any questions or anything?
I know somebody asked about I think it was J.R. Hanley asked about a film that you referenced in one of your nonfiction books and wanted to know if that was still going on.
What film? Oh, the documentary.
I guess I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Whoever
that's,
said that, put that up there again, please.
we
It was in the other feed.
we mentioned that a little earlier. Basically, we're gonna run a crowdfunding campaign for that over the winter, so that we can afford to do that.
Okay, so that's the publishing documentary.
Yep.
Have you done any other documentaries?
I did a documentary on the ritual calendar for the Sacramento Grove of the Oak Pagan group years and years ago as a work for hire type of thing. But this will be the first documentary I have done for my own self.
Okay. All right. So you haven't started shooting it yet?
I have, actually. I did some interviews during the last big publishing event up in Lincoln City last November. And I'll be doing some more interviews up there this November because, I'm around people that are on my list, so why not? But once we go on the road, we're crowdfunding it, and I've got to book interviews with big players all over the country. So we're gonna travel the country, letting the dog terrorize the local wildlife, and mugging the occasional author and publisher and agent for interviews.
How dare you? Why would you do such a thing?
Because I come from a family of historians. I'd like to make a contribution.
That excuses all kinds of rotten behavior. Way to go.
I come from a family of historians, excuses a lot of rotten behavior. I would love to live in the world you do. In the chat, Sue says her work wife is hooked on the Lantham series. This makes me all kinds of happy. I will be right, and she asks, when will you be writing the next Lantham? I will be writing the next Lantham next February. It's called The Sky Miners, and it's going to be the second to the last in the major arc. So I will finish out the major arc of the Lantham series next year. It doesn't mean there won't be any more Lantham books, but it means that the story about who was hunting Naya that started with And Then She Was Gone will close out 2 books from now in a book called Extinction Tango.
How many books are in the Lantham series currently?
8 so far. There'll be a total of 10 in this arc, unless I get another idea that I've got to squeeze in that I can't. And then I've got I've got a pile of another 7 or 8 that I can write that are standalones and whatnot.
Well, before we, go anywhere else, Paul, we should remember that the $10 patrons get to ask a question that somebody, whoever they ask it of, has to answer. May not be in too much detail, but Sue and JR need to go ahead and ask us their question. Come on, commit. One of us.
Before they do that, JR said, can I say the kids' books again?
Yes, please.
The one that is currently on the market is called Hadrian's Flight, and the one that is coming out in August, is called The Automotive.
The Automotive. Interesting. I assume you're going to send us all sorts of stuff when all this stuff comes out, so we can actually tell our patrons and listeners about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're already signed up with the influencers arc campaign for the CabraCon Ascendancy, so you're going to be getting one of those arcs in the next couple days.
Coolness. Coolness.
Then you'll have to get on Terry to read it, because he was like, it sounds fun. I'm too busy. So
I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to read it. I'm being ultra aggressive over the next year. I'm trying to work up to actually writing a book every single month. So,
excellent. Well, we should get to be buddies on that then, because I'm starting to I've been trying to do that for the last year and a half, and I'm getting closer, but I could totally use someone to slag off and motivate me. So if you want to be accountability buddies on that, give me a note, because that could be fun.
I will. I'm not sure exactly how we could work that since I turned my internet off.
Account-a-buddies. I like that. Account-a-buddies.
Accountability-buddies.
Accountability-buddies. Holy crap. That's terrifying.
That's from South Park, I believe.
Oh, is it really? Oh, I guess I shouldn't be too shocked. Accountability-buddies. Feels like some strange new organism. Speaking of, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
How often do you look at the research that's coming out that NASA put out or anybody else about the new things they find in the solar system, and you just sit there and you go, fuck?
So far, never. Usually I go, oh, that'll be useful. The stuff I'm having a lot of fun with right now is the political crises across the globe, because when I mapped out my future history back in the late 90s, I deliberately chose the least plausible scenario, or the least likely plausible scenario I could think of. And so far, it's all coming true, almost down to the month.
Then you need to stop thinking, because I'm sick and tired of this bullshit.
So I'm having a lot of fun because I'm like, yeah, that's a terrifying bit of news. But on the other hand, I was right again.
JR says
that would be great. Somebody needs to go ahead and put this in one of their books where they have somebody go to a cemetery and that's on a tombstone. Well, I was right again.
I love it.
Then it'd be like, what the hell does that mean?
wow. Okay, you just gave me an idea for one of my horror books. JR Hanley says, we recently had a podcast on anthologies. Would you or do you ever write in them or play in other people's universes?
I have once played in someone else's loose universe. I wrote a story for John Maru's Walk the Fire anthology, but that's the only time, and that was because I got to keep all the rights.
Right.
I would be, there's a few universes I would love to write in if the opportunity presented itself and the deal was correct. As far as opening my universe up for them, after the big series is done, I'm considering doing a few anthologies to round out the corners. I haven't made any firm plans one way or the other.
Okay. Hopefully that answers that question.
Now we have to wait to see if Sue's got one. We're waiting, Sue.
Right now she's trying to get me to stop making predictions.
So instead of dominatrix, we have editrix. Is that what's going on here?
Why is there no such thing as editrix fiction? That's what I want to know.
Editrix fiction. Oh my God. How meta would that be? Holy
that
crap.
would be so much fun.
No, my brain
Imagine
hurts.
what the editrix would do with a red pencil.
No, we're not going there. We're not going there. I mean, I know this is a family show and everything.
Well, that's how families get made, Paul.
Hey! My dysfunctional family.
That totally brings a whole new meaning to strike through.
I don't want to know what you're going to do with that italics. I just don't want to know.
Bold.
Or insertion for the purposes of grammar.
Let's see. Under what circumstances would your major characters, Lantham, Rob, Joss, meet?
Well, Lantham, Rob, and Joss are all are all separated by several centuries in the same timeline. So it's very unlikely that they will ever meet because even though Joss exists at a time when indefinite life extension is possible, he's not going to last into the Rob era.
No, probably not.
So yeah, but there's others. All of my major books so far, and the automotive will be the first one that breaks this pattern. All of my major books take place on the same timeline. Well, the automotive breaks this, and Ideas Incorporated breaks it because those are both fantasy books. But if you start from now, Lantham is in our time, in our universe, and then that timeline goes straight through down from 10, which is contemporaneous with Lantham, all the way to Suave Rob and the Resurrection Junket, which are hundreds and hundreds of years in the future.
Kind of what I'm doing with the Black. The Black leads to Derelict.
And then the next big epic series will take a fork off in the mid-21st century to go a different direction. So that'll be fun.
It's always interesting when you're looking at today's stuff and you're thinking, how is this going to affect my future books? or, you know, the series that I have planned out that take place in the here and now. How is all this shit that's going on around us right now going to affect it? It seems to me like it's one of the probable issues that we kind of all have. With me with science, I look at and same thing with deep sea while I was writing The Black. Every day some new discovery was made that I could either use or that basically put one of my theories, you know, planted at 6 feet under. So I would think that if you're trying to get if you're trying to get something like that going, it would kind of be an issue as well.
Well, that's if you're trying to get it right. The reason that I tried to sketch out my future history so it was unlikely, even though plausible, was because I didn't want to have to worry about getting things right. With a lot of hard science fiction, one of the reasons that they fail in terms of prediction is they fail to take into account one of two things. Either they fail to take into account the speed of change, or they fail to take into account human nature. So, you know, just because technological advance goes at a particular speed doesn't mean that culture changes at that speed, or in a way that is obvious. That's the obvious consequence of the technology like that.
Would I ever write humor, something where everyone lives? I did write humor. It was called The Street. I am not really a funny person, I don't think.
Bullshit. You have to remember the first time I met you, there was an entire bottle of scotch in you already.
Oh, God.
And you were hilarious.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely certain I was. I think I would write more on, if I was going to do that, I would write much more Carl Hiaasen type humor into the books. And people still die, but that's kind of the dark, really dark humor, and just take some characters and just, you know, go to town with them. I kind of like the occasional exaggerated character for comedic effect. And I always think of Shakespeare when I you know, the Gravediggers, for instance, in Hamlet, or at the very beginning of Romeo and Juliet, when the Montagues are trading barbs about horrible things they're going to do to the Capulet women. There's a lot of different potty humor going on there, and a lot of the characters basically, you know, going over the top. And those are fun to deal with. And if you can come up with something like a Suave Rob, for instance, or an Oscar the Grouch, and make them into someone who thinks in ways that are humorous, or thinks in ways that are just downright ridiculous, you can get away with a lot and have a lot of fun. And I really love that. I am looking for another parody to hang my hat on. I haven't found it yet.
Sue had said something about after you writing another romance, but she doesn't know that under a different name, you've already written a romance. It was that Kentucky Fried Chicken romance. What? You're actually the secret author of that?
There's actually a book called Kentucky Fried Romance.
The Kentucky Fried Chicken Company actually sponsored somebody to write a romance and have Colonel Sanders on the cover.
Oh, you've got to be kidding.
I am not kidding. I am totally
imagine what they
kidding.
got paid.
Oh,
imagine what they got paid.
Oh, man, that is just terrifying. So JR wants to know what your thoughts on alternative timelines and time travel in your writing.
Well, I hate time travel. Not to say I haven't written it, but I hate it. And I hate it because unless you're really careful about it, it undermines the entire story. You either have to limit your time travel in some way that makes sense and is consistent so that you can only have basically this one incursion you're talking about.
Right.
Or you have to go all the way to all you zombies. Anything in the middle really doesn't work. And so I usually avoid it. I've got is it 2 or 3 time travel stories. I don't know if I've published any of them yet, frankly. Though if I haven't, they're all coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, I've never written a time traveler story. I guess the time traveler story that I want to write is really one character, and it's not traveling through time, it's traveling through history by just living so damn long.
Have you seen The Man from Earth?
Yeah, I think I watched. I don't think I finished it, but I did watch it. I did watch part of it at least.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it through. It's one of the best treatments of that idea I've ever seen.
Well, that's what I want to kind of do with the Garaga series, is setting that up so that the main Garaga Nephilim is born not too long before the French Revolution, lives through the French Revolution and everything that comes after that. Nice. So I can do that, and they just haven't gotten around to it yet. Yes, I have written a romance. Yes, it was called Dramesh, or alternatively Lovers, and yes, it did take place in the Graga's children. Only it doesn't count as romance in Terry's eyes because it didn't have a happy ending.
Well, romance has romance, to have a happy ending. If it doesn't have a happy ending, it's drama, not romance.
Okay, well, it was romantic drama.
You committed literature.
I committed literature. I committed the sin of literature. I love doing that. Committing the sin of literature is one of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm not trying to do it. It's so much better that way. How do you feel about fanfic?
I don't know. Does he mean as a writer of things that people might fanfic, or is someone who might be tempted to write or read fanfic?
I think he's talking about fanfic for your stuff.
I have no official policy on it because I don't want to deal with the headache.
You know, that's pretty much where I'm at. People are like, when are you going to open up this universe or that universe? I'm like, probably never, because I have seen through Sigler's eyes just how incredibly difficult that kind of cat herding is, and I'm just not really sure that...
You're talking about expanded universe, though. He's talking about unauthorized fanfic.
Okay, well, this is true.
A couple of things. I would never, ever read any fanfic of my universe, because that's lawsuit bait right there. If someone writes something in my universe and it's not an authorized thing where I've got the rights to reuse the idea, and then I use some of the ideas or characters or whatnot, those belong to the author, and I wouldn't want to unintentionally cross-pollinate and open myself up to a lawsuit. This is why people in writers' rooms at TV shows never read submissions unless they've got a dedicated slush editor, for example, for the liability issue. So for liability reasons, I would never read fanfic of my own works, and I would probably, if it ever got to be something that people were doing a lot, I would probably have to hire someone to look through them and make sure that they're abiding by the terms of copyright law, you know, not monetizing and all that good stuff.
All that good happy crappy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So my policy on fanfic of my own works is to have no policy. And I say this as someone whose first film and first radio drama were both Star Wars fanfic.
Personally, I'm not going to be reading any fan fiction that anybody writes in my universe. I'm not going to discourage it. I'm not going to encourage it. If it happens, it happens. I'm not going to freak out about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there was quote unquote unauthorized fanfic for the street. And I'm like, how can I stop it? I mean, whatever, man. Do whatever you want. I already ripped this off. You ripping me off? It's small potatoes.
Well, and for that, of course, that's a parody of a parody, and parody is fair use. So,
yeah, until you talk to copyright lawyers.
Parody of parody.
Parody of parody. I still want to write Black. I still want to write Black NATO. It's going to happen. I will at some point write Black NATO. It will just be ridiculous.
I totally get a vision that is not what you intend when you say that.
Oh my God, that KFC book is called Tender Wings of Desire.
Yeah, tell me that's not terrifying.
I think they've actually taken it down. It was a Mother's Day thing, and I think they've actually removed it from the store, but still, just it's out of control.
Tender Wings of Desire.
When you say
makes
Black
it sound
NATO,
like logical bestiality.
Oh God.
Finger looking good.
Why take the ham when you could have the rooster?
When you say Black NATO, all I can think of is the blaxploitation films.
Well, that's what comes to my mind immediately too. But I'm talking about, the black as Sharknado. That's what I'm talking about. But I know immediately the moment I came up with the title, I was like, man, this just sounds like a bad 70s film. This sounds so bad. I'd start hearing the Shaft theme song in my head. It's just
Sweetback's badass song.
I should hire somebody to write a song for it too. That would just be awesome. That's how I spend my patrons' money.
That would be epic.
The Black Finger Licking Good.
All right, we should probably wrap this up. Are there any other questions y'all have that you're just dying to ask J Daniel Sawyer?
Make it personal, make him squirm a little bit.
Squirm? We're going to get him. Well, here's the problem, all right? Since he's not on video, you really can't see his face. It'd be awesome if we could get the video so we could see the blush or, the wild grin.
Well, I can come really close to the mic so you can hear me go.
Oh, don't encourage. Whose insanity should we not encourage? You're going to have to be more specific than that.
Yeah.
Because right now there are 3 lunatics on this show and probably a couple out there on the patron group. So as Terry grabs a cat.
This is Minnie, my writing cat.
Hello, Minnie. I've seen Minnie before, many times. My insanity? Don't encourage my insanity. Okay, then.
Oh, boy.
There was a reason to stop taking my bipolar meds.
Oh.
So, yeah, this is what Saturday is like hanging out with the Deb robots.
It's a great thing. I tell you, I've actually got a bit from Suave Rob 3 that might close out the story really well.
Oh, no.
Or close out the podcast really well.
Oh,
This
no.
is the book that's coming out in July. It's the close of the initial Suave Rob trilogy. Suave Rob and one of his minions have just rescued someone who does not speak their variety of English from a fate worse than death, and they're swearing to fuck all the time, and she's never heard the word fuck before.
Oh, God.
And
so then you have to explain it, but then you have to explain all the contextual uses and various...
That's all I need. She says, what is this fuck you are always speaking of? And Jill says, the fuck? She says, yes, what is the fuck? And Jill says, it's a god. And she says, what? And he says, a god. You worship them in religions, like your god is Sola. All cultures have their sacred things, and they have their cursing, which depends upon those sacred things. It's called blasphemy.
Yes.
You have Sola, so you swear by the sun. We have the great god fuck. He used to be very powerful, but now he's not, and no one takes him seriously. So we swear by him all the time. We tell each other to fuck off. We have people we don't like, they're motherfuckers. Or people we really like, they're badass motherfuckers. When something's a fucking thing, it's more intense and serious than if it's just a thing. When we care about something, we give a fuck. When we're shocked, we ask what the fuck. And when we're appalled, we ask what the actual fuck. But for the most extreme, the most bogus, then we break out the artificial fucks. Because artificial fucks are so much more extreme than actual fucks.
So this means this woman at some point that's completely inappropriate in the story goes ahead and strikes a heroic pose and goes, the fuck?
Uh-huh.
So this has been the Dead Robot Society Lost in Translation episode. All right, patrons, we're going to close this out. Dan, where can we find you?
You can find all of my stuff at jdsawyer.net, and you can find my daily writers podcast at www.everydaynovelist.com.
All righty. Terry, you got any last words?
Keep writing.
Keep writing.
Keep writing.
Those are good words.
And if you need a daily kick in the pants, listen to me. I furnish one every day.
Always a good thing. Might have to start getting you to kick me in the pants. Anyway, with that,
we have to ask people to do that to you.
Well, Luna usually bites them before they get a chance, but you know, I'm working on that. So until next month when we do another live show, and patrons, do us a favor, put some comments on this episode. Let us know what you think, the other kinds of things you'd like to see us do for the live shows. Terry and I just discussed early, if you missed it, that we might start broadcasting every week live for y'all. So it's a possibility. Anyway, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for being patrons and on your undying support. And thank you very much for asking the questions and everything else. Dan, it was a pleasure to talk to you again. Seems like we do this every 6 months or so.
It's a good rhythm. I love it.
Cool. And Mr. Mixon, I'll see you on Wednesday. Or is it Tuesday?
Tuesday
this week. That's right. Tuesday this week. All right, then. Fine. Be that way. See if I care. I'll just keep doing this. All right, folks. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.